Inter's last appearance in the Champions League finals was just 2 years ago when they eventually fell 1-0 to Manchester City. And prior to that, it was 2010 when they won it all, taking down Bayern Munich 2-0 to lift the Champions League trophy. Now, prior to the semi-finals against Barca, Inter had 8 clean sheets in their UCL campaign, but they weren't able to keep Barca from scoring in this tie. They faced over 20 shots per match compared to just over 14 shots per match in the previous stages. But despite it all, Inter still had the edge over Barca and were able to put back more goals than they let in. And they have Denzel Dumfries to thank for that. Dumfries scored or assisted on 5 of Inter's 7 goals against Barca in the semis. And yesterday, he spoke with the UCL Today crew post-match. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We are very happy, amazing to reach the final. And I'm very proud of everyone, especially Marcus.
Oh, you're proud of me?
Yes, very proud because I know you were injured and you fought for everything. And I'm very proud. Jan, amazing. And this is a team effort and we are very proud tonight.
Denzel Dumfries was awesome.
Yeah.
He buried any question that there was about him going into this series. He was important on the right-hand side more often than not. And I do think one of Barcelona's downfalls were their injuries. I think that was a big reason why they aren't through to the final. But that's to no fault of Denzel Dumfries. He took advantage of the hand he was dealt. He terrorized that right-hand side, terrorized, even appearing in central channels on a quick turnover from Barcelona, pressure after a loss by Inter, giving Barcelona a little bit of their own medicine, catching Dani Olmo in no man's land, Di Marco baiting on the weak side, and Dumfries went, oh, thank you, and he's in, setting up Lautaro for a tap-in. So all credit to him, who he slayed. He killed it this series.
Something underrated about him, too, was his defensive work rate. The way he backed everybody else up. Because in that wing-back position, you're exposed. You're running up and down, box to box the entire match. And he was gassed at the end, absolutely gassed. But to do that consistently and hardly make a mistake and set up and have a ton of goal contributions is just, I think he's the unsung hero of this leg, for sure.
It was incredible to watch because I can't remember an Inter fullback have such a definitive performance across the semifinal tie since Maicon. It made me think of watching Maicon back in the treble-winning season where he was up, down, and made his mark. I mean, every single thing. The guy was involved in just about every goal for Inter. He was unplayable, and you had mentioned...
Good comparison.
Yeah, you had mentioned... Ooh, that's going to be on the game that we play. No, that's definitely our game.
I wonder who... If they end up winning, this guy's going to go down as a, revered right back in Inter history. Just like Maicon. I mean, that team was so good. Similarly to like the comparisons between Lautaro and Milito.
Ooh, that's a good,
2 Argentine forwards. I don't know. It's I thought of it for the first time just now. The Maicon Dumfries compare. Although Dumfries is more of a wing back in the stuff, but whatever. I get it.
The class is still there.
Yeah.
Why do you think that they do so well in Champions League as opposed to the Inter that we've kind of been seeing go up or down in Serie A?
Haven't Inter fans learned from United fans? You never leave the grounds early when it comes to learn something from Manchester United, right, Nico? No, that's where the comparisons stop. You look at some of the injuries and the timing of injuries, and I said, I don't know, it was last week or on Monday, that the 2 most important players that have suffered injuries to Inter's demise in Serie A have been Marcus Thuram, injury-riddled season so far this season, and Denzel Dumfries. Those 2 players and Simone Inzaghi, I'm learning so much about Serie A. I love that we get to cover the league, Coppa Italia, the Supercoppa theatrics. But this Inter side, their number 1 priority from the start, I always thought this, was to win the Champions League. I think that loss to Manchester City has hung over their head. It's been their number 1 target since they were so close. 2 crossbars away or 2 hitting the woodworks away of getting over the mountaintop. And this was always their goal. And now that they're back to a final, it means everything to them and their fan base to get over the line yet again. 2 seasons ago, this was an Inter side that compete on multiple fronts, right? They were younger, they had the bite, they had the know-how. This season, they're a side that can compete for 1 trophy and 1 trophy only. You have to pick your poison when you have a 37-year-old, when you have a 36-year-old in midfield that can still move. And the Champions League was always a thing they wanted more than the Scudetto this year.
And I think you need to give a lot of credit to Inzaghi here. because there's been some turnover from that Inter team that made the Champions League final to the one playing. There's no Brozovic, there's no Onana, Edin Dzeko scoring a lot of goals, and they cycled through Lukaku. On top of that, they found Marcus Thuram, they found a goalkeeper who was definitive yesterday in why Inter got through to the Champions League final, and they've turned things around. Or rather than turn things around, they've built on what they had. Sure, there was a skeleton of or maybe like a rubric of that team that got to the Champions League final, and they found ways to tweak and construct a team that can compete on all fronts. Sure, you don't have Coppa Italia in search of that treble, but you competed almost to the very end. Scudetto race isn't over yet. Napoli's in control, but it's not over yet. And you're in the Champions League final. You went toe-to-toe against Bayern. You went toe-to-toe against arguably the best team in Europe. But in Champions League, maybe the best team doesn't always win. It's the team who gets the business done. And this is a proper football team that understands how to get business done.
Right. But we talk about unsung heroes. And Denzel Dumfries wasn't the only unsung hero. And a guy that in that interview post-match, Denzel Dumfries really gave flowers to, and I want to give some flowers to, is Marcus Thuram. Up until this year, before we started, I think you really started giving flowers to Julian Alvarez. Right now, I think he is the most underrated and underappreciated footballer on the planet. The work rate he does, his ability to cover ground and do it for the team, I thought that was such a key reason late on that Inter were able to get over the line and get into the Champions League final.
A big quality of his, too, when you play with the 2 9s, so much of it is counter movement off of what your other forward is doing. And to me, he's a masterclass in watching his unselfish runs that create space for Martinez on the first clip that we had, him reading when a defender's being pulled out, his deeper runs coming up, knowing that there's going to be an offside trap that kept him onside. He's so smart and a movement to always have to check what the other forward is doing. I think complete masterclass of a performance as a 9.
On top of all this, I don't think either of them were 100% yesterday.
Yeah,
no,
crazy.
Even Dumfries said in the post show.
Bro, there was one point in the second half, Thuram was hobbling.
Yeah.
He was hobbling to get around there. Then he pulls that off in extra time. You don't teach that. That's not technique. That's not tactics. That's pure heart and a mindset.
But after seeing them break all that down, you still want to say that Barca was a better team yesterday?
Barca created... No. Yesterday, Inter deserved to go through. I don't know if Barca was the better team, because if you're the better team, you score the opportunities that you create. I'm saying that on any given day, which team has more quality? I think overall, who displays the better football? I think more people would say Barcelona than Inter, but this game isn't about that. Do I care? No, I don't care. Who deserved to go through the final? Inter deserved to go through to the final. I don't know if it's a big gap between Inter and Barcelona on the quality, but I don't know if Barcelona were better yet. I mean, they conceded 7 goals. They also scored 6 against a team that had only conceded 5 all season long, but I don't know if they were
That's so
better
crazy
yesterday.
to say out loud.
Yeah.